Hello, hello. Good morning, afternoon, evening. MouseHunt, welcome to Feedback Friday. It is December 28th, the last Feedback Friday of the year. How's everyone doing? Thought I'd pop on quick here. The offices are still closed, but I thought I'd come online, say hello to everybody, see if anybody was hanging out or lurking in the chat here. The participant list doesn't seem to be working on YouTube, but let me see here. Hello, KDM. Hello, Sriraj, if I'm saying your name right. Vipin, Eric. Good morning. Well, just kind of a low-key Feedback Friday. Want to get any sort of reactions, feedback, comments on the New Year's portion of the event or the Great Winter Hunt in general. And see what everyone's up to. Was there a ticker? I don't think so. Let me see here. Was there a ticker up? No, I don't think so. Yeah, correct way to say my name. Yay, all right. Glad I got that right. Brian is... Oh, you're on data. So you got to take off. Well, Merry Xmas back at you. Thanks for stopping in. Hope you had a great Christmas. So far, so good. Spider-Man with 3 S's. KDM likes the Chrome Kitty skin, but it's donation only. It should be on the marketplace as well, unless there's an oversight there. Let me see. Let me just double check it's tradable. Let's go to the marketplace and see what the Chrome, not the Consolation, that one's pretty cool. Yeah, well, there are a few up for sale. It's a little hefty price tag on it, though. A little hefty. Where'd the chat window go? Heard the Hydro module disappeared. What happened there? It shouldn't. I have to elaborate on that. I believe it's working correctly. You get it for completing the Winter Hunt adventure. You get the Hydro modules, sort of the default. Wouldn't mind farming 200 cookies for the skin. That's an interesting thought, actually. That might be something to keep in mind for next year. Might be a little too late to do that, but I think that would have been a good idea, actually. Have it available kind of in the premium shop as well, sort of above and beyond for a whole lot of cookies as well. It's not the Trapsmith. The Hydro module is not sold by the Trapsmith. You get it as a reward for completing the adventure. So it was never in the Trapsmith. It was a little bit awkward. We were trying to think of a way to smoothly accommodate that, where the trap would be an adventure reward, but without a skin module, it wouldn't really have a power type, which is a little bit odd. So we combined it with the Hydro, made that one the default. But all the other skins are available in the Trapsmith, and they cost a little bit of each cookie, and each one has a cookie that it especially costs, you may have noticed as well. So the Toboggan, the Nutcracker, the Ornament, and the Snowflake cookie all kind of correspond to a skin, although they all require more than one cookie. Oops, my bad. No worries. Lots to keep tabs on, and lots going on in the Great Winter Hunt. But I do, yeah, I like that suggestion. I think hindsight, maybe the skins being available for cookies, that would have been a good reward structure as well. Kind of keep that in mind for next year. I think that might be a good approach. See what other hunters think. Eric, can't wait to catch the fireworks mice in tournaments. Been busy doing tournaments, so not many firework cookies yet. I think Franco set up a tournament. Let me check here. My other screen. I think he set up a tournament rule set for New Year's. Yeah, Mega New Year's Snow Golem Celebration Tournament. And then Michelle scheduled a few. And the mice. I assume he would make the New Year's mice worth the most. Oh, they're nice middle of the road, 40 point. How do you do's? That's a good little incentive if you're looking for kind of a way to get a little extra bang for your buck, no pun intended with fireworks, but if you're looking for a little extra oomph for when you capture the fireworks mice and do the New Year's portion, combining that with a tournament would synergize well. KDM asked, what's the plan for 2019? Things are still a little bit in flux. As we've kind of previewed before, we're working on an expansion to Queso Canyon, a Queso Geyser, which will be primarily a draconic area. So I think that's coming along nicely. That'll definitely come out in 2019. We have the Lunar New Year event, which is always popular. It's going to be kind of very similar. There's going to be the red and the white candles come back to do double and triple loot drops. As well as the birthday event. That one's still up in the air. By all means, if anyone has sort of creative suggestions, the forums are a good place to post suggestions for the birthday event. And the spring egg hunt is kind of usually what kind of bookends the event season, as we call it. I think we might do something a little bit different for the spring egg hunt. There'll still be some eggs, but I think it was Georgia who had some interesting suggestions for the spring egg hunt. So we're going to kind of brainstorm that a little bit more, maybe get some feedback a little closer to the egg hunt. But beyond that, too, I'm excited. We've expanded the dev team a little bit. So we're able to make things work where we could hire an extra developer. And once they kind of get trained and up to speed, that'll be exciting as well to kind of help us put out a few more updates per year. But definitely, MouseHunt it's approaching its 11th birthday, so there's a lot to learn in terms of the code base and how to work on MouseHunt. So it usually takes a little bit of time to get people trained up. Darn Wrong asks, is this Feedback Friday a Q&A one or a progress update one? I guess a Q&A one primarily. I'm just looking for any feedback on the Great Winter Hunt and just questions in general. Didn't really prepare any notes or anything specific to share in advance. Like I said, the offices are still closed, so just thought I'd pop on, for 15 minutes or so and say hi to everybody. New Year's guys drop the fireworks candy a bit by bitty and too rarely, says Vipin. I got like 10 now. Let me just double check here. So you have to make sure you have the New York ornament up, obviously, and then cookies. You'll have a chance to get the Frightened Fireworks, who has the best drop rate. The New Year's Mouse has the second best drop rate, and the Party Head Mouse has the lowest. The Frightened Fireworks should always drop 3. The New Year's should drop 1 70% of the time, and the Party Head Mouse will drop 1 30% of the time. So the Party Head Mouse is a little stingy on the cookies. And then I'm trying to see the encounter rates. Where's Fireworks? The Frightened Fireworks has just over a 10% chance to encounter with Glazed, just over 21% for the New Year's, and about 10.5% for the Party Head Mouse. And then Pecan, you're slightly more likely to encounter the Frightened Fireworks with regular Pecan, just ever so slightly, but you do get a lot more New Year's and Party Head, so you do get more, overall you get more cookies using the Glazed, but if you're looking to crown the Frightened Fireworks, it's about 2% more likely to come to the regular, but in general you'll encounter fewer New Year's mice. So you should find a cookie just over once every other hunt. With Glazed, or not with Glazed, with regular Pecan, you average 0.6 cookies per hunt. So 1 divided by 0.6, it takes 1.666 repeating hunts on average to find a cookie. So not quite every other hunt you should. So if you do 60 hunts in a day, well, here, let's do that here. If you do 60 hunts in a day, with regular Pecan, you should get about 36 cookies a day hunting with Pecan. Sriraj says, I'm very suspicious of the map behind Dave. Actually, I'm at home today. I'm not at work, so I think that's unrelated. Yeah, it's a map of a different kind of at-home project I was working on. I was doing a mod for a different game. Actually, it's a MouseHunt mod for a non-MouseHunt game, actually. I was just trying to learn some new modding technology, I guess, or languages. Eric says, will there be 1 week cooldown to keep using golem parts like last year after the event ends? Yes. So when the event comes to a close, basically everything's going to stay the exact same way. The only difference is you will no longer be able to obtain golem parts, at least not in any sort of significant capacity. So really the only change is the event mice, other than the ice sculpture mouse, are gone. So when you hunt there, you'll just capture, like dwarf mice, white mice, brown mice, gray mice, the sort of regular indigenous mice that are at the vacant lot. And the ice sculpture mouse will stay around though, so you'll be able to capture the boss a few more times if you keep exploding your festive firecrackers or explosive festive crackers. You'll be able to send out your golems as usual. You can use hats, you can use bells. You'll be able to play the Snowball Showdown. You can find golem parts on the Snowball Showdown, so you'll get a few trickle. If you're just a couple short, that might be a way to kind of get a couple more parts. And the Ice Sculptor Mouse, he also has a chance to drop golem parts. So if you're a couple short and you can capture the boss one more time, that might be just enough to send out one more golem. But other than that, yeah, the one you'll have a chance to kind of try to cash out all your golem parts. Don't save too many parts though. It's only in a week. So, if you do, let's say 50 hunts a day times 7, divided by 25, you'll have time maybe then if you're really pushing hard to get 14 golems to come back. So if you have more than that many parts, it's going to be a little tight to try to use them all without also using a bell. You can buy bells, though, from the general store with your animated snow. So if for some reason you did have way too many parts at the end of the event, if you're kind of farming the parts too long or didn't balance that out too well, you can smash them. Use your animated snow to buy some bells and just kind of use up as many as you can. Ryan says, I think New Year's event completion might be too much, especially working on maps. Yeah, for sure. It's a fair enough point. You may have to kind of choose between maps and the New Year's. If you're doing maps, then you have to hang different decorations to get different mice to complete your map. And the New Year's mice are not on the map. So, doesn't synergize particularly well. That said, you need, how many cookies do you need for completion here? The base is 30 and the codex is 90. You might prioritize the base if you want. I mean, +1 luck is nice on the year. Every little bit counts. 6. So it's about 200 hunts with regular pecan pecorino on average to complete everything. So that's a few days. If you spend, a few days farming the pecorino and then a few days hunting with it, that's under a week to wrap everything up, and there's more than a week left. But for sure, you'll have to kind of balance that with map timing. KDM asks, do you think the Archduck area will be released in 2019, or is that possible? We'll see. It's still too early to say. Like I said, we haven't even really started any artwork or any dev work, just a lot of prototyping and brainstorming. I think it's, if everything kind of gels together, we'll get started on it in 2019, but it might be ambitious to see it released. How is the Archduke area going? Asks Fano there. Yeah, like I said, we're just mostly prototyping, brainstorming. We're going to kind of focus a little bit more seriously on it in the new year to try to get the ball rolling. Number of cookies, asks David in the chat, is shown in the HUD, but nothing to tell how many firework cookies you have. Yeah, it doesn't appear in the little banner there. You can go to the shop. So, whatever you have your eye on, say it's the base, which costs 30 cookies. Beside it'll say you own, like I have 21 at the moment. So you can kind of, there's not too many rewards and not as much sort of management. So we left it off the banner. But you can pop into the shop as kind of a quick way to get a little progress bar on how close you are to earning the base. Can we at least enable the 25 hunt cooldowns outside the Festive Comet once the event ends, please? I think that should work. I'm not entirely positive, but I think you should still be able to have your golems return by not hunting at the Festive Comet. If you're really in a bind and you completed the birthday event, you could use your Hunter's Rewind charms. It's a little bit of a weird experience, but you can arm those charms and then put on maybe the wooden base and the tacky glue trap or the high tension spring trap. Or obviously no charm because you're using your rewind charm. And when you miss the mice, it'll still advance your golems as well. So if you still have 100 of those, that's enough to bring 4 golems back in just a few minutes time, assuming you don't get, if you can say unlucky and catch a mouse. It's a bit of a niche use for those. Are the old New Year skins getting added to the Trapsmith? Yes, I'm going to look into that. Actually, let me confirm this list if anyone can think of anything else. The New Year's, there's a Slack skin, Endless Labyrinth, a Dimensional Chest skin, Party Portal skin, 4 of them, for whatever reason, didn't have their little flag set on them to make them come back automatically. So I'm going to take care of that today. Will there be glazed magical hats next year? I don't think so, no. We were toying with the notion of having sort of a golden hat or something, but it just it didn't really work when we were kind of prototyping it and playtesting it. It just kind of didn't really feel very good and didn't play very well. Please bring back the toboggan race next year. New Year event is quite boring. I still prefer toboggan race. I love the flash picture changes as you hunt it. Yeah, fair enough feedback. For sure, I mean, I think the golems have been the best received, but we'll sort of return to that when we get ready for the 2019 Great Winter Hunt to see what we want to do. There's no Feedback Friday announcement in-game. Well, it's kind of a low-key one for sure, so I just wanted to pop on and say hi. And actually, we'll wrap things up in just a few minutes. So there was nothing too significant, but wanted to get some reactions, feedback from the Great Winter Hunt and say hi to everybody. Any guesstimate on the number of brainstormed ideas? Let me see here. Ask KDM. Let's see, that's an interesting question. Label idea stub. So I've got 152 idea stubs, what we call them. We keep them in a few different spots, but that's kind of in my email. And then I don't know if there's a way to count the number of cards here. I don't think there is. But then, yeah, beyond that, lots. We have a few different kind of spots that act as an idea bank for things that are sort of still just rough ideas with no sort of definite, sort of the details haven't been fleshed out. Will there be some way to balance out unbalanced cookie count because maps are annoying? I think when the event comes to an end, we'll make cookies smashable into snowball charms, I think. So you'll be able to smash up any sort of loose ends, and then beyond that, before if we did something similar next year and we were using cookies similar to the golem parts, they'd probably be removed from inventories before the event started. So something to keep in mind. I have too many ornament cookies. We'll definitely, make sure you get all the modules that you're interested in. The journal theme's not limited edition. It'll most likely make a return next year, so that might be lower on the priority list when you're looking at rewards, something to consider. The base is very useful. I would make sure to get the base as well because it has a nice synergizing effect as a set effect with the Golem Trap to give +6 luck. But I definitely prioritize that, and then whatever cookie you have too many of, don't hang that decoration while you hunt with pecan. Can we keep the ice pick after the event? No plan to remove them directly. And next year, it would probably be a different sort of final mouse at the end. It would be a different theme, so we probably wouldn't reuse the ice picks. That said, they, for collection's sake, I suppose you could keep in your inventory, but I would encourage people to cash them out for reindeer crates or magic hats if they want to make sure they put them to use. Is next year on golems any teaser so we can prepare? Much too early to say. I don't know if we do golems in 2019 or not. KDM said he liked the 2011 team, Great Winter Hunt, building toys, defeating the Mad Elf. It's going back a ways. And Chong says, will there be more dust concept in the future, like dusted egg carton? I don't think we're going to repeat egg cartons. They didn't go over too well. Not a lot of hunters used them. The feedback was kind of mixed, so I don't think we'd return egg cartons. Will New Year's mice get added to the possible mice on maps? I don't want to stop mapping while going for my codex. Potentially, I suppose. There's not too many of them, though, so I don't think it would have the most significant effect, because you'd get them pretty quick. But it might, 5 to 10 hunts, I suppose, would be, you'd still have them on the map. Might be something that we have to keep in mind for next year. Ben says, time to move on from snow golems. Beware the Great Winter Hunt hangover, though. Yeah, KDM's got the timeline planned out there, asking for the Archduke area 2019. New MouseHunt 2020, Viceroy's area in 2021. Chong asks, will the +50 luck Lunar New Year be making a comeback? I believe so. So I think that'll come back pretty much how it was, some different rewards added, but it'll be very similar to last year's. Yeah, no other kind of details on the Archduke area. It's going to kind of follow Mosu Picchu. It'll probably require a little bit of completion of Mosu Picchu to move on to there. But beyond that, not too much to share until things kind of come together a little bit more. Stejan asks, what can we expect something to happen in the next month of MouseHunt, like the marketplace rework? That's a good example. I'm hoping we'll be able to get that out in January. We still have to kind of put it through a thorough round of testing. It's not too scary of a thing to test because we're reusing a lot of what mobile uses. So it's mostly just all the interface is pretty much the most significant new part of it. Whereas the things that actually handle the transactions and items changing hands, that's all taken care of in the mobile app. That's been working well for quite a while, so it's not too nerve-wracking to test that. But the interface for sure is going to require some testing. Beyond that, we're doing some technical. Let me check our little roadmap here. We're doing some kind of behind-the-scenes technical cleanup stuff. You may have noticed some weird error messages showing up in gifting sometimes. If the database was, the game couldn't connect to the database, you'd get a weird error. And that was kind of sort of a low-level underlying cause that required us to go in and do some refactoring. So you probably won't notice that other than error messages not being weird. The marketplace, that's a big one that will definitely be noticed. I realized I never moved the Great Winter Hunt 2018 into the released category. That's definitely been released. Another behind-the-scenes thing that's going to kind of help us just make interfaces a lot quicker is we're kind of overhauling the way interfaces are rendered in the game, but again, kind of technical behind-the-scenes stuff. We're looking to remove the friend restriction for sending supplies, so we remove that from map invites. We're looking to also be able to send supplies to people who aren't your friends, and some controls as well to be able to toggle that on and off. Again, kind of behind the scene technical stuff, but some support tools as well to be able to, if people who are being a little bit malicious or breaking rules, being able to disable specific features within the game without removing their access entirely. So if somebody's doing something they shouldn't do by sending supplies to people, that maybe they lose the ability to use the marketplace or supply transfer, but they can still sound their horn, that sort of thing. But again, kind of behind the scenes a little bit. And then Queso Geyser as well, that's coming along well. We've worked on a little bit of the balance. Plenty of the artwork is coming along nicely, so that's definitely slotted for 2019. But in the next month, I think the marketplace will be the most noticeable. Xavier asks, what will happen when the Great Winter Hunt ends? Will our golems come back instantly? For 1 week, you will be able to do everything in the event except collect more golem parts. So you'll have 1 week to try to cash out all your golem parts, get all your golems to return by hunting in the vacant lot. There'll be no event mice other than the ice sculpture mouse. So you won't be able to collect golem parts other than just a few from the ice sculpture mouse and maybe a small trickle from the snowball showdown. But you have a week to try to use everything up. Which area is next for newbie location rework? We're kind of going back and forth a little bit, whether it would be Whisker Woods, that might be a larger project, or Feroma. Stejan asks, can we expect anything else besides the marketplace rework? Or there's been hints towards a King's giveaway as well. Yeah, potentially. That's something that's fairly easy to put together as well while we're working on other stuff. So it's a candidate as well. Any lead on the tribal isle being destroyed by volcano and reworked? It'll be a little bit. It'll be a while. I think we're kind of going in order. If anything, I think we'd rework how the cheeses work in the Jungle of Dread, just to kind of remove some of the complexity of the peppers and the various colors. Is a little bit difficult to follow. It would be nice if the New Year Codex is +3 and up since it expires after 1 year. Well, it's a little tiny bonus. You just get +1 luck for the whole year. I don't know, +3 might be a little bit too much there, Caesar. Ryan says, next birthday event, will we be able to bring back extra sweet cupcake Colby? No specific plans for the birthday. I don't know if we do the cupcake event again or not. You can kind of let us know what you think. Chong says, in the future, can premium cheese like glazed pecan be able to hunt for more than just 2 mice? Well, it's a tricky balance because we don't want, obviously it's kind of this extra tier of cheese, which is also nice because it lets us put it on the marketplace. But we also don't want too many mice that are sort of exclusive for that cheese. So it's kind of a balance as well. There's also kind of behind the scenes, there was something in place so that the very first hunt you take with glazed, as long as you weren't at the boss phase of the event, you'd always get the glazy mouse. So that was a way to make sure that you get some in the advent calendar, and you got some from Larry reward links that if you didn't buy any, you would still be able to unlock the silhouette of the glazy mouse. But we don't want too many sort of exclusive mice for a cheese that's primarily you have to buy it with cash, and there's just a very small trickle of it. We don't want too much exclusive content for that. It can be more targeted to really live up to its premium price. Well, it's a tricky balance to find for sure. We didn't want the glazed pecan to be, absolutely, head and shoulders way above everything else, but it's just a nice little incremental boost as well. But for sure, yeah, it's a balance to try to get. Any new traps or bases for Queso Geyser? Asks KDM. Nothing to share at the moment, but it's probably a pretty safe bet. Will be something. Aries says 3 Chrome Cat skins this year. We see Chrome Cat in 2019, or Chrome Cat kit in 2019. I don't know. Probably not though, but it's hard to say. Caesar says, I think you need to rework the marketplace in the mobile app, at least make it easier to buy and sell items compared to the exchange. I think the exchange is in the mobile app. What we're doing at the moment is the browser version is going to work very similar to the mobile version, and they'll both sort of gel with each other. So if you make a sell offer on mobile, then somebody can buy it from the browser version, and they'll both work in the same way where you can do partial orders as well. So you don't need to make multiple listings to sell lots of items. K&M has good feedback for the cupcakes. Ryan just caught the New Year's mouse, and it sucks to never drop anything. Yeah, well, it's tricky. Something we can keep in mind in the future of maybe raising the costs on the rewards and making the drops a little more consistent. That said, it's a 70% chance to drop something, so it doesn't happen too often that the New Year's mouse doesn't drop something. But yeah, it's good feedback. Hindsight, maybe we could make it 100% chance to drop one, and then just raise the costs of the rewards ever so slightly to compensate for the higher drop rate, and it would have the same effect without encountering the mouse without it dropping something. Sriraj asks, he's asking Jacob to redraw the tiger mouse's paws look like fans. That's probably on the list. There's a big list of mice to be repainted and bring them up, update their art style. It's safe to say a lot of the Whiskerwoods mice, I think, are on that list. Probably was just always a challenge to fuse a mouse and a different animal. Can the New Year skins be brought in the shop instead of premium shop? I don't think we would do it at this point. I think that's a fair feedback, good suggestion. In hindsight, having them in the shop for a very large number of cookies, I think could have worked well. But now that it's released, it'd be a little bit awkward to change it after the fact. But something we'll keep in mind for next year. They are in the marketplace as well, though. Ryan feels that glazed pecan pecorino could have been dropped by some mice. Wasn't quite nice to be only found in treasure rewards. Well, it was sort of, by having it not, by having it just a trickle in the game, it allowed us to also put it on the marketplace. And kind of just, experimenting around with having 2 tiers of the cheese, something that's a little bit more accessible. It also allowed us to increase the drop rate of a regular pecan pecorino. It's always a challenge finding a good balance between how fast you can do the event with spending no money and how fast you can do it with spending some money, and how much how fast you can go by spending a little more money. So having that extra variable kind of helped us smooth out that curve a little bit and increase the drop rate of pecan pecorino to make sure, okay, everyone, if you don't spend any money and you're hunting every single day, you have a good chance of completing the event, or you should be able to do it still. And having that extra tier still let us add a little extra value for people that were looking to buy something to go through it a little bit faster. But yeah, feedback's an important part of that as well, and that'll kind of help us going forward as well. Stejan asks for an off-season we can get back to the past event. It's a little tricky to bring back an event, so it's not quite turnkey the way things are set up. So I don't think we could do that. Narnia Games Mice next showing 2020. Yeah, we might try to find a way to creatively work them into another piece of content. Like I said, there's a lot of events, so having like the games event, I think might be a few too many going on. It kind of slows us down from being able to make new areas in the game. And we're at a point where there's a lot of Archdukes, and there's no Archduke area. And so that feels a little bit awkward. Kind of a few years ago when we did Year of the Noble, we were in a similar situation where there were a lot of high-level hunters, but there were no high-level areas, and I think a lot of people got bored. They didn't have good, sort of goals to chase after that were up on their level. So we're kind of getting into that situation again. I think it's a little bit of a symptom of there are so many events that it takes up some of our time that we could spend working on new areas. But like I said, we hired a new dev that's going to help once he kind of gets trained and gets up to speed. And we've been reusing some events recently. That's helped as well. Like I said, it's not quite turnkey. We can't flip a switch and bring back an old event, and we always need new rewards and that sort of thing. But it definitely sort of lowers the scope of how much dev work goes into it. I feel Golem should bring back Winter Charms. If you send them to the Festive Comet itself, I believe they can come back with Festive Charms, or maybe it's Let It Snow Charms. Other than that, you get a lot in gifting as well. There are a lot of winter charms in the economy. Will Fool's Gold be given more love so it can purchase more materials from the area? I think the ship has sailed a little bit on that. I was kind of pushing for that a little bit as well. But it didn't get a whole lot of positive feedback from players and even other devs on the team. So we kind of moved on from Fool's Gold. But yeah, I agree. I thought it would be neat if it could be a secondary currency that's just kind of used throughout a particular part of the storyline and becomes an important resource that you use in multiple areas. But unfortunately, I think the ship has kind of sailed on that, so I don't think that's going to happen. All right, so I said 15 minutes ago I'd wrap up, but the questions are flowing in here. So I'll try to get these last few questions answered, and then we have to wrap up Feedback Friday. KDM says, imagine spending money and a skin for a top trap point, have a new stronger trap come out months later. That was a factor in the modules as well. We're looking at what has recently been released for sure. That usually gets negative feedback when a new trap comes out, you put in time, you earn that trap, and then a few months later a better trap comes out. Feels like you didn't get to put that shiny new powerful trap to good use. So it's something that we're conscious of and we try to avoid best we can. Oh, Jason says, have mini events show up every month or two when things are slow? Yeah, for sure, the mini events that we've put together, the zombie invasion, that sort of thing, as long as we don't need to add new rewards, those are very turnkey. We literally hit a checkbox and submit a form and the event launches. So that's possible. Plank Run, I think it's in the idea bank to kind of just overhaul Plank Run, breathe new life into it. Caesar suggests add Winter Charms as recommended charms aside Let It Snow. The recommended system is very crufty, and it's not very, very nice. That's in the idea bank to overhaul. You might notice on the mobile app, like it just recommends ridiculous charms at the moment while the winter hunt is going on. So it's kind of a technical thing that just the code needs to be deleted and rewritten and made better. Daniel collected more than 1,000 Fool's Gold just to buy some crates. Ryan asks for a quar. That's a good way to wrap things up. All right, let's go get a quar. I don't know what the trivia question could possibly be, but maybe we can just have a Larry gift. Just the R in quar. Or I'll think of a ridiculously easy trivia question here. And the date is the 28th. And sure, how about some of these? Okay. My fan's turning on. All right. Larry has generously provided a link for me. I'm going to test it, make sure it's 1,000 temporal plates. Okay, all right. All right, so how about today's quar? I'm just going to look over at my screen here and try to think of something. The answer is probably going to be a number. Those are the easiest. All right, how many reinforced ice shards do you need to upgrade a golem from level 10 to level 11? And I'm just looking at that because I have a level 10 golem. And that can be this week's trivia. 1,000 teaspoons, says KDM. 150 is correct. And I think, other than the random guesses that happened before I asked the question, first answer was correct. Ryan, I believe, followed very quickly by LO, I think, and David 11559. Daniel came in fourth there. A lot of 150s coming in the chat. 150 is correct. And I'll put a reward link in the chat. If you're watching this recorded on YouTube, the link should also appear in the chat if you're on YouTube Gaming. Or I think even on normal YouTube now, it puts the chat beside the video while it's streaming. So much easier, you can just click it right there. KDM was confused, said 210. It was from level 10 to level 11. I have 48 ice shards right now, so I got a way to go before I make my first level 11 golem. All right, on that note, we'll wrap up this kind of informal Q&A Feedback Friday, everybody. Thanks for joining me. Thanks for the feedback on the Great Winter Hunt. Had some good suggestions. Had some good feedback on what was fun. So had some good feedback as well, maybe what things we should consider tweaking for next year. Thanks as well for all the questions. Any Feedback Friday next week, asked KDM? I think so. I think it should be okay. I think I should be able to pop on. Again, it'll be kind of a similar, our offices will still be closed. We're back to work on the 7th. So we kind of took this week and next week off. But I should be free to pop on for Feedback Friday on January 4th. But it'll be sort of similar. So any feedback, any questions, it'll be kind of a Q&A. You can brainstorm those if you're able to join us next Friday. And we'll hang out again for another 15 to 30 minutes, I suppose. Thanks for Feedback Friday. Happy weekend as well to you, Daniel. Thanks for joining us. Happy New Year to all the devs. Thank you very much. Happy New Year as well to you. Hope you've had a great winter hunt and a good holiday season as well. Happy hunting.